to coast. Every culture, every angle. This is Arise America.
Welcome back. According to the United Nations, nearly 70 million people fleeing war, criminal violence and persecution were forcibly displaced last year. It's not just a staggering number. Unfortunately, it's also a record-breaking number. And as Arise America's Sheri Richardson reports, it's a measure of misery that's been consistently rising for 5 years.
During his weekly address in St. Peter's Square, Pope Francis urged a crowd of thousands not to, quote, let fear get in the way of welcoming our neighbor in need. It's a powerful and inclusive message on World Refugee Day.
So World Refugee Day is used to commemorate the struggles of people who have suffered persecution and lost their home countries.
Edafe Okporo understands those struggles all too well. In his book, Bed 26, Memoir of an African Man's Asylum in the U.S., he chronicled his own journey as a gay man from Nigeria fleeing persecution. He tells of how he was detained for 5.5 months while he fought for asylum.
Detention center is very difficult for you to be treated like a criminal, but everything I went through made me stronger.
Edafe works as the director of the RDJ Refugee Shelter in New York City, where he helps migrants seeking asylum. He sympathizes for the migrant families being torn apart at the U.S. southern border.
Children getting to the border and the current administration using Bible as an illustration to defend their claims. Even in the Bible, it is written that we should defend the fatherless, we should defend the widow, we should defend children. We should show more love to people who are coming into the country.
That's a sentiment being echoed in Europe. Groups of migrants line up outside Rome's immigration office, sometimes for days at a time, to process their asylum claims. This man says he's been in line for 7 days.
I'm here for my process, but when I reach in the queue, they kick off, they kick back. Go back. Come tomorrow. What the hell? All night we stay there. All night we just we use this thing as a pillow. We are living insects. We are living animals. We are living this open environment. We are coming here for living for a better future.
Italy and Malta recently refused to allow a private rescue ship carrying hundreds of mostly African migrants to dock at its ports. Ultimately, Spain stepped in and offered to help. Other European leaders like German Chancellor Angela Merkel says Germany stands by its obligation to protect people fleeing war and violence, as well as its commitment to keeping Europe together.
The number of refugees worldwide is simply unthinkable, and people fleeing is a central global question of our time. However you cut it, migration is a European challenge, perhaps our greatest challenge at the moment. It is about the cohesion of Europe.
The European Union has been deeply divided over how to respond to migration, and the Chancellor herself faces calls from within her government to turn back some migrants at the border. Back in the U.S., many people like Edafe are disgusted with the Trump administration.
More policies are being created that is making it more difficult for people to feel welcome, and the values of this country were found as a country of immigrants. One thing this administration did that was really, really bad was removing the title Country of Immigrants from DHS website. It shows how unwelcoming this administration is to immigrants. We shouldn't be. One way in which people can become to accept refugees in our society is by sharing stories of people that have integrated into our society and how important it is for us to welcome new people to our society.
The Statue of Liberty has welcomed immigrants to America's shores for 133 years. This week marks the anniversary of when the statue arrived in New York Harbor back in 1885. It has come to symbolize freedom and democracy, something Edafe says President Trump needs to remember in creating his immigration policies. I'm Sheri Richardson for Arise America.